You with us. Time to meet the panel. 3D reporter Paula Penfold. Great to have you back, Paula.
Thank you.
And community facilitator Richie Hardcore. Richie Hardcore. Why do I keep wanting to say Richard? Good to have you back, Richie.
Lovely to see you again.
Community facilitator, just quickly, for people that don't know.
I try and link people with problems. I work around drug and alcohol harm reduction. So communities that have problems with alcohol and drug issues and link them, I guess, with the solutions that they need.
Okay.
Help them empower themselves to come up with solutions which are appropriate to them, because it's not like a one-size-fits-all issue. You know, I mean, I was listening to you to talk about you drinking out there. I'm like, Paul, I can help you.
Oh, I need you. I need you. Yeah. No, really, I'm asking you more for myself than for anyone else. Incidentally, Arnold Schwarzenegger is only 67 years old. Who would is that true? Who would have picked? Yeah, it is. 67. Good
He's
Lord.
done a good job with himself.
He has done a good job. Well, he's been fit, hasn't he? He's been fit. But he's probably been on the steroids too. All right, let's talk phone books. I'm surprised, Paula, that in this day and age, there still are phone books, let alone conversations about phasing them out.
I didn't realise, actually I did realise that there still were phone books, but only from the letterbox to the recycling bin. That's how long they last in our household.
That's exactly for me too.
I mean, what's the point? Seriously, when did you last use an actual phone book?
Okay, well, here's the point, according to Communications Minister Amy Adams. She says there are people that don't have access in the digital age. They haven't opted in. People not dissimilar to me, although slightly worse than me. And we have to have phone books for them, Richie.
Yeah, I think that it's important not to marginalise your economically disadvantaged people who don't have smartphones or rural communities. But at the same time, I don't even have a landline, and a lot of my generation don't have landlines.
And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't.
So I think, environmentally, it's a huge waste of paper and resources. So I think it's a good thing.
It's funny the way things change, because I was just talking to a builder the other day, and smart homes used to be riddled with wires. There were wires everywhere. Smart home now has no wires at all, because everything just radiates around. The issue I have with white pages is it seems we're going to phase them out, but we're not going to get rid of them altogether, because in the end there's going to be that hard group of feral people who, for one reason or another, have determined they don't want to be part of the technology age. So we're still going to be producing phone books.
As long as it's a massive reduction, I think it's a good thing, because I do think it's just a waste of resources.
You love the environment, don't you?
I love the environment. I'm all about it.
In Auckland alone, this next print run, they are going to save 281 million sheets of paper.
Wow.
How many trees is that? That's a good thing.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't care, but for you, that's going to keep you up at night.
I'll be doing the maths, yeah.
All right, let's talk hair straighteners now. And, Stephen Joyce had a point, the Economic Development Minister in the House yesterday, I think, Paula, when he said, well, seriously, we're going to actually spend time here talking about something that costs about $200.
Yeah, I think it was $400 by the time it was installed, wasn't it?
How do you install your hair straightener at home?
It takes 2 seconds, right? It is Wellington. It's windy, it's rainy, these poor women are biking to work or whatever. We do need a good hair straightener, some of us. But is that the responsibility of their employer? I don't really think so.
No, I don't think it is either. And I think if you're spending public money, I think it's a different situation. There is a different, if you've got a private business and you want to provide hair straighteners for your staff, fair enough. Now, this is an interesting one for you, though, because Paula has painted the picture of someone who's environmentally sound up until the point they start using their hair straightener. Richie. So they've cycled to work, they've risked their life to save the environment, and then they've plugged in their hair straightener.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I don't think it's going to bring down the national grid, though, is it? One hair straightener.
I personally, I'm not a huge fan of the current government, but I'm actually not super critical of that spending, because you need to retain good staff, and, the private sector is far more appealing most of the time, and when it comes to remuneration and workplace conditions and it's a hair straightener.
It's a little thing you can do.
It's a little thing you can do to retain smart people who are probably earning less than they would be if they're on the private.
It's equivalent for men, though, if there's going to be a hair straightener provided for women. I bet
they've got some men working at the ministry that use hair straighteners.
Love their GHDs. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Razors,
electric razors. I don't know about the hygiene of that.
Here's the other thing. If I was running a business, I don't think I'd want to have the bathrooms full of people using hair straighteners and razors. I'd want them sitting at their desks next to the cheapest plasma screens they possibly could have, grafting away.
Well, then how long will you keep them for?
The $140,000 screen is pretty offensive, though, isn't it? I mean, I get that the architect wanted the place to look great, but when you're designing for a project like that, you're not going to pick the $140,000 screen, surely. And even if your architect does, then it's up to them to say,
okay, but here's the thing. I've got a little project happening at my place, right? And to be honest with you, the only thing I care about is the whole price. Right. And the person who's running the whole thing keeps trying to tell me about different prices, and I've said, I'm not running it, you're running it. this mustn't go over this price. So he might be selling me some really overpriced things with a collection of really cheap things
stuff,
and keeping, and so that was the argument that the ministry used, that, the whole job came in under budget.
Yeah, by like 40 million or something, right?
I mean, it's still a fence, and I think you're right, Paula. I think it's not the point. There's no way that my money and your money, taxpayers' money, should be used to buy a $140,000 plasma screen. All right, we'll be back with the panel, and one of the things we're going to talk about is a little bit grey. It's 23 minutes past 8. All right, great to have you with us. A special day today, right around the world this day, because this is the day that Grey is out. 3D reporter Paula Penfold, community facilitator Richie Hardcore are the panellists this morning. Just very quickly, we're going to be talking to an expert about how you handle difficult conversations. And all of us during our lives face the prospect of a difficult conversation, whether we're receiving it or giving it. It's like we've moved into the second subject. Richie, where do you fit in the category of difficult conversations? Are you someone who just thinks, I've got to tell this person something, I'm going to do it?
Yeah, I'm divorced. I've had a lot of difficult conversations, and I'm working on drug and alcohol issues, and people are always like, "Hey, man, my friend's got a problem." So I'm always talking about kind of awkward, sensitive.
So you're
subjects.
Like a confronter. You think I've got to talk about this. I'm going to do it.
Not a confronter. I'm a broacher. It shouldn't be like. I think like conversations shouldn't be. I'm learning this. I'm pretty opinionated, I guess, and I've got really strong values around lots of things. But I'm coming to understand that a conversation shouldn't be around trying to convince someone. It should be about just mutual understanding.
This is how I feel. This is the situation. Yeah. What do you think?
And it's not about trying to get them to agree with you and try and convince them with the weight of your proof, because a lot of that can be counterproductive.
Are you someone who tries to avoid difficult conversations? So am I. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't go there. I know it's the wrong thing, and you're absolutely right. We should be much better at it. But
it actually is much worse to be like us.
Why?
Because it just gnaws away at you. No one knows what's gnawing away at you.
That is so true. Actually, we need to.
How many difficult conversations that you haven't had are gnawing away with you now? You really want to tell me you never want to come on my program again, don't you?
I was talking with Paula in the green room, and I was thinking about something that we don't learn in school is how to meaningfully communicate. You don't learn how to compromise, you don't know how to talk about your feelings, and I think that manifests in really unhealthy behaviours in later life. I think if we learn how to meaningfully communicate and engage,
you're absolutely right. Well, we're going to have this conversation with an expert in just a moment. Not that I'm saying you're not an expert, Richard, because clearly you are. All right, very quickly, today is the day that Grey is released. This is 50 Shades of Grey, but from Christian's point of view. You are a virgin, Paula, when it comes to 50 Shades of Grey. You've not read a word of it. I slid the book across.
Yes.
What's your first knee-jerk reaction?
I just am blushing just reading these words, and I actually can't go there. So Richie's kindly offered to do it for me.
We've told Richie which page you started to read first of all. Richie, go.
I didn't even try to find this bit.
274. This is Paula. Paula found this, and she was like eyes wide open. When I open my eyes, I'm wrapped around her, our limbs entwined. She's regarded me with a tender smile. Her face is no longer blotchy and puffy. Why is it blotchy and puffy in the first place?
I don't know. Why was he even attracted to a blotchy, puffy girl?
She looks radiant. My, can't say, agrees and stiffens in greeting. Good morning.
So at this point, he hasn't even greeted her properly, if you know what I mean.
I know.
Warning, I'm about to greet you.
Yeah, there needs to be some sort of consensual conversation around.
There's no such thing as consensual conversation in this book.
You know what, if you're going to take it out to a serious issue, I think that's one of the problems with this book, is there's no talk around, is this mutually pleasurable and is it consensual?
No. But I think it is mutually pleasurable if you read on. All right.
It goes on, because here's something that I've never heard the saying before. She says, you're very hot. She scolds, you're very hot. He says, you're not so bad yourself. I grin and flex my hips.
Let's just think about that during the news. Richie, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you in. Paula, lovely to have you in.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, it is just a little after... I'm thinking about the whole hip thing now. It's just...